Hi, welcome back. So we got our feedback for what we've had so far in our social work profile, and part of the feedback that I received is to place myself more into my videos, especially with regards to my identity as a social worker. So after some reflection, I think it's worth for me to create a video about why I'm here, specifically how I got here, who I am, and in the context of social work, how do I see myself positioned. So I've said this before, but I took social work as an intellectual pursuit. I graduated with a degree in biomedical sciences, so the subject matter that we discuss in our readings is vastly different from what I've normally pursued. And that's what makes it interesting. My partner is currently in the Bachelor of Social Work program at the University of Calgary, and just from having them speak about their studies, I was really interested. My first exposure into the field of social work is through the disability community. I worked as a counselor at Between Friends, which is an organization that provides recreational and social services for people with disabilities. And a lot of my coworkers and supervisors were in programs such as community rehabilitation and disability services, or, of course, social work, and otherwise they have graduated in those programs. And it was very clear to me the impact that their education had on their practice, the way that they interact with people and their capacity for empathy and their commitment to their practice. It was very admirable. And the organization made a point about speaking about the social aspects of disability and providing training on it and why this service is so important. I think that's something we can take for granted in so many other fields. People have to know the impact that their actions have and the purpose of their role. This multifaceted view of people that Between Friends had and social work as a whole wants to strive for, not just with clientele, but the interplay between the clientele, the staff, the administration, and the wider community out there. This is what drew me into the field. I just didn't know it at the time. Who I am and who I've become dictates a lot of why the field of social work is so appealing to me. It also guides how I undergo my journey in social work. And who I am and the role that I take on, well, it's going to depend on the topics that I discuss. In my video on the poor law, I wear my Catholic philosopher identity. In my video on relationships, I took on the role of an educator. In future videos, I will come from another place that's rooted in one or more of my identities. But for now, I'm going to elaborate on some of the identities I've already covered, and speak about how these identities have affected my social work career, and how I anticipate they will affect it. I've said this in my previous video, but I am a Catholic. And this is the most defining aspect of my identity. Religion in general, and Catholicism in particular, has had a bad reputation, and honestly, fair enough. Every institution in power has had its share of sins and abuse. I don't really have anything to back up this claim, but I'm going to roll with it. And this video is about me, not about the institutions. But, so what does it mean for me to endorse an institution that partakes in the abuse of power? It's something that I've reflected on, and it's something I have to continuously reflect on. But without skirting the issue, the Catholic Church has played a significant role in the oppression of women, the LGBTQI+ community, the abuse of children, slavery, residential schooling, amongst other things. But my relationship with the spiritual foundation of the church is not the same as my relationship with the institution of the church. Spirituality, specifically religion, is one of those things that you don't bring up around polite company, and from my perceptions, it is a weakness in the field of social work that there are no chapters in text about religious diversity, and only one mention of it in their lectures. Spirituality and religious affiliation can be a core part of a person's identity, just like race and gender and nationality, but we seem to have an aversion to recognizing that. I'll link an article about it, since again, this video is about me. So I've spoken a lot about religion in this section, and again, that's because it's the part of my identity I most identify with. But something else that will come up in the next few videos is my education, having graduated with a major in biomedical sciences. Other aspects that shaped my life include, of course, being from the Philippines and moving to Canada here when I was 9, being a cishet male, growing up in the age of information, but not engaging in social media. These are things that distinguish and they define my views and experience in a way that's different from others. So what's next? The short answer here is I'm not likely to pursue a career in social work. Not anytime soon, anyway. There are a lot of roles in social work that I like, and I want to continue even outside of the scope of this course. But not as a vocation, but instead as a part of my character. So I think it's important for me to consider my place in the field of social work. And if I were to pursue a career in social work, which roles would I pursue? One of the things that's resonated with me in the course is during the lecture, we were speaking on what we did on September 30th. I shared that I was doing respite at the time and wanted to do activities with the kid that I was working with to explore what National Day for Truth and Reconciliation was about. I also voiced my frustration with the lack of resources available that can be easily digested by the children. And that's when Jackie said, "That sounds like I want to take on the role of an educator," which is an idea that just never occurred to me at the time. The people in social work, they can take on other roles than just caseworker or working at the macro level with policy and advocacy. But it's an idea that's resonated with me since. I've worked as a tutor and in childcare as an educator. I've just taken on roles of education in my life. It's natural that in a field centered around people, that is the role that I want to gravitate to. And this is why I chose this format for my social work profile. Why I chose specifically to make videos that expand on the ideas presented in the lecture. Why I choose to do some type of external research based on the topics in the module, because there's so much more to get out of the ideas presented in the book. And I want to play my part in expanding and delivering those ideas. But there's more to it that I can do, which is something I just didn't consider until after some introspection. And that is, I can and I should be an advocate. There seems to be this attitude of displacement in education, where your own beliefs, as best as possible, should not show as an educator. I remember back in high school, when I was taking AP Bio, my teacher prefaced the evolution unit with something along the lines of, "This is part of the AP Bio unit, and this will not necessarily reflect the views or beliefs of themselves, the school, or the school district." This was under the Catholic school system. But unlike my teacher, I'm not bound by some external curricula that dictate what I can and can't teach or say. So I will do my best as an educator. I'm not going to displace my views from my presentation. And perhaps, along the way, there will be an intersection where both roles are fully realized. And I'll be working on that.